Gamma is a member of the Sonic cast that's almost unanimously looked positively upon, which is something the majority of the cast unfortunately cannot say. But why is this? As someone who is fond of Gamma myself, I must say I think it's related to how he did not overstay his welcome, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Some may wonder, who is Gamma? So let's start with that. E-102 Gamma was a member of Dr. Eggman's E-Series robots that were constructed to serve upon his flying fortress. Each one was powered by a small animal like most of Dr. Eggman's robots at the time. They were intended to be his most elite robots, capable of carrying out his orders with a degree of flexibility in their tactics as opposed to the rather linear programming for his more generic creations. When the player is first introduced to Gamma, it is done through his eyes during his first activation. So in other words, the player follows Gamma's story from the moment he comes into existence. This was, and still is, such an intriguing perspective for the player to have taken, as we had never played as one of Eggman's robots before. Furthermore, the player was able to see what it was like serving under Eggman and seeing a part of his creation process behind his robots. From here, Gamma is sent on a target practice mission to assess his functionality, before ultimately being pitted against E-101 Beta, which is where things start to get a bit more interesting. We are told that Beta, apart from being constructed before Gamma, was a more advanced model, emphasised in game by his different arsenal, and that Eggman fully expects Beta to win as logic would dictate. The thing is, Gamma defeats Beta in what really should have been a by-the-numbers procedure for Beta. Eggman was impressed enough by this to allow Gamma to serve, whereas Beta was relegated to guard his old base. Beta insisted on joining anyway, so Dr. Eggman compromised and would go on to remake Beta. The act of Beta persisting is quite interesting, considering it was supposed to be a robot that only followed orders, but Beta seemed like it wanted to impress his creator. This isn't the only instance of an E-Series robot behaving this way. Later on, the robots all fail an important mission for Eggman, except Gamma, so he scraps the rest of them on the spot. As this happens, E-103 turns to Gamma and looks directly at him, as if in fear of his destruction. It would seem then that the E-Series all possess some restricted form of a personality, but it does not allow them to disobey their programming. This potential could have been a part of how Eggman would allow the E-Series to become more flexible in the field, but it's interesting to note that throughout the Sonic franchise, Eggman's more intelligent robots always seem to form some kind of a personality. Regardless of this, the E-Series personality was an important base to cover, as Gamma seems to express a less restricted personality. At the start, he's just a robot as you might expect, but throughout the game he slowly warms up. During the game, Gamma is sent to the prison cells in Eggman's fortress to extract the flicky in the possession of Amy Rose. She defies his orders, which prompts Gamma to ponder why. His robotic mind can't see the point of risking her life for the bird, but pondering the subject is not something a robot of his nature would usually do. During this process, the flicky moves close to Gamma in an attempt to plead with him, and this visual causes enough, I want to say stress, to cause Gamma to disobey his creator and let them escape. Gamma is different. Whilst yes, the other E-Series sort of have personalities to some degree, Gamma seems to be lacking the restrictions that would keep his personality suppressed. He's able to surpass expectations that mathematically he had no business doing so, such as when he dueled Beta. Perhaps Eggman made light variations to the E-Series design for each model to try and find an optimal version, and this is what made Gamma have a greater potential for emotion compared to his counterparts. Regardless of how, Gamma was more like Sonic and his friends than he was to his fellow robots. He was still Eggman's robot, however, so when he's ordered to take out Sonic, he doesn't hesitate. As one would expect, he fails at this, but just as when Sonic is about to finish him off, Amy jumps in to protect him, before then telling Gamma he best leave Eggman behind. This act gave Gamma context to the scenario in the prison, where he didn't understand Amy protecting the flicky. He may not have fully understood it at that moment, but it provides a point of comparison he could later reflect on. Gamma goes on to try and free his E-Series brethren. This act is a part of a chain of events that ultimately would seal Gamma's own fate as well. As such, I want to clarify the way I interpret a specific aspect of Gamma's character related to this. Like the other E-Series, Gamma has an animal inside of him that powers his systems. For Gamma, this animal is a flicky bird, and is actually related to the flicky that accompanies Amy. Many people have said that Gamma as we know him is really just a bird inside, and it reacts to seeing the free flicky and has visions of the flicky's memories. I, however, believe the bird is dormant inside the machine, and Gamma the robot is his own, separate entity that has its code conflicted with glimpses of the animal's memories as if they were some sort of echo. The way he's referred to when he appears in Sonic Shuffle and Sonic Battle also leads me to think this, but chiefly, the way Sonic Adventure treats Gamma seems to support the idea. With that in mind, his plan to free the E-Series becomes a bit more morbid, as it meant being freed from a life servitude under Eggman. Although of course Gamma also did intend on freeing the birds, it was a mission of dual purpose. At a few points in the game, the way Gamma interacts with the world is used to set up some form of dry humour with the aid of some subverted expectations from how a regular person would react as opposed to Gamma's own reaction.
Must determine location. Accessing data. No data found. Location unknown. This presents a problem.
Which helps endear him towards the player, whilst at the same time showing he's still a robot that's learning emotion. One of the best parts of Gamma's story, and one of the most well known, is his demise. With the rest of his line freed, only Beta and himself remain. I wonder if Gamma felt more towards Beta than the others. Beta was the first E-Series robot he met, and during Adventure's plot, Gamma comes across Beta being reconstructed. The scene is framed as if to suggest such a sight disturbs Gamma. Regardless, he pursues Beta in what has to be one of the best boss fights in Sonic history. In this final fight, both the player and Gamma can see the ideal form of the E-Series Dr. Eggman had envisioned. Beta was cold, merciless, and unrelenting in his assault, making no attempt to interact with Gamma. Beta represents the path Gamma would have taken had he not left Eggman's service. Just another empty, killing machine. Upon claiming apparent victory, Gamma lets his guard down, and Beta immediately capitalizes with a surprise attack before fully shutting down. Gamma momentarily attempts to relocate himself, but starts recalling his brief existence, before finally recalling the flicky inside of him. Gamma dies. His finale is so potent because of how it is bittersweet. We saw Gamma grow and change throughout his story. We saw that he broke free of his programming to become his own person, to the extent that the Col sees fit to bestow a vision onto Gamma, showing how she sees him more as just code inside of a machine. We see how he set out to save both his brethren and the animals trapped inside them. Then we had to watch as he allowed his life to end so he could fully fulfill that goal. Gamma was never brought back again directly. He has non-canon appearances and a spiritual successor, but E-102 truly did die, and so even now, all these years later, you can still feel the impact of that decision. That is where Sonic went right with Gamma. Thank you for watching this video all the way to the end. I love Gamma's story, and it's great to see others speaking of how they thought he was handled well. What are your thoughts on Gamma? If you had never played his story before, perhaps this video inspired you to give it a try. Let me know in the comments below, and see you next time.